Hi, 5th graders. Today we are talking about Lesson 11 of the 5th grade textbook, Israel in the Promised Land. George and Sarah are cousins. They are both in 5th grade and they love playing games outside. George likes soccer and Sarah likes dancing. They both love going to church every Sunday.
Sarah, George, it's time for a bedtime story.
Mom, can you tell us more about the stories of the Israelites in the Promised Land?
Of course I can. You know that Israelites captured the Promised Land under Joshua. Later, he divided the land among the 12 tribes of Israel. The priestly tribe of Levi was given no specific portion of land.
After Joshua, who led the people of Israel?
It was the judges who led the people. They were courageous fighters and were talented men of God. The judges led Israel until the beginning of the royal rule. Do you know any of the judges?
I know that Jephthah and Gideon were judges.
I know that Samson and Samuel were also judges.
That's right. Those 4 were the chief among the judges. Now, do you remember about the kings?
I know Saul was the first king.
That's correct. Samuel anointed Saul as the first king. Do you remember who was king after Saul?
It was King David. He was the strongest king in the history of Israel.
That's right. God promised that the house of David would last forever. After David, Solomon became king. After Solomon died, the kingdom of Israel was divided. Do you remember how they were divided?
I remember that there were 10 tribes in the north and 2 tribes in the south.
The 10 tribes in the north together formed a nation called Israel. The 2 tribes in the south formed Judea.
Wow! You both are correct. There were lots of rivalries between Israel and Judea. Eventually, both of these countries shattered because there was an increase of idolatry, increased infidelity towards God, and an increase in the sinful life. God, however, still loved Israel, his chosen people. Now, let's talk about the prophets. Who were the prophets?
Prophets were those who revealed the will of God to the people of God.
Their main goal was to lead the people to God and divert them from evil.
That's correct. The prophets also advised the kings in the right direction. The prophets strengthened the people when they were in exile. They also prophesied about the coming of the Messiah. Do you know the chief prophets?
I know Elijah, Isaiah, and Jeremiah were prophets.
I know Ezekiel and Amos were prophets.
Good job. Those 5 were the chief among the prophets. The people continued to have hope that the Savior would be born for them. Jacob blessed Judah and said, "The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him and the obedience of the peoples is his." This is in Genesis chapter 49, verse 10. This is a clear promise about the Messiah to come. Prophet Nathan said to David, "Your house and your kingdom shall be made sure forever before me. Your throne shall be established forever." This is 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 16. Later on, the prophet Isaiah said about the one to come, "Look, the young woman is with child, and shall bear a son, and shall name him Emmanuel." This is in Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. These expectations of the people were fulfilled at the incarnation of Jesus. Jesus was born in the genealogy of David of the tribe of Judah. Thus, the expectations and the prophecies concerning the Savior were fulfilled in Jesus.
The hope for the Savior remained prominent in the life of Israel. The prophets and forefathers revealed through parables about the coming of the Messiah. In the night prayer of the Nativity, we sing. Life witness. The people of Israel, even though they were chosen people of God, often showed infidelity to God. God, who was faithful in his promises, showed mercy to Israel and led them to the land of Canaan. Let us glorify God, who is faithful in his promises. Let's do some questions. How did Joshua divide the land among the people of Israel? How did Jacob bless specially his son Judah? Which are the prophecies about the Messiah which rendered hope to the people of God? Write short notes on Judges, Kings, and Prophets. Let's do today's Bible verse. Psalm chapter 30, verse 1. I will extol you, O Lord, for you have drawn me up. Let's do today's activity. Watch the video and write down the reasons that led to the division of the kingdom of Israel. What should we do to stay closer to God?
Okay, my dear children, time for bed. I'll tell you another story later. Sweet dreams.
Good night, Mom. We love you, and we can't wait for another story.